Hi everyone, my name's Diabedor, and today we're gonna explore how much we can upgrade our flasks without fighting any bosses. This video is structured like a guide, but you might also enjoy the sport of exploiting Elden Ring's open world design. Golden seeds are used to increase the number of flasks you can carry, up to a maximum of 14. They can either be found near phantom trees, which are these little golden trees you find in various places, or they can be dropped by some specific enemies. These enemies can be a real pain in the ass to fight, especially at lower levels, so I wanted to see just how much I could upgrade my flasks without fighting any of them. You can also upgrade your flasks with sacred tears, which increase the amount of health or mana each individual flask actually restores, up to plus 12. These are found in a few specific churches throughout the lands between. So the question is, how much can you upgrade your flasks without actually fighting any bosses? Leave a comment below if you want to guess, or if you want to point out anything that I might have missed. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you found this helpful. Alright, so to start out, I chose Samurai as my starting class because it's just a great starting class, and I chose a golden seed for my Keepsake, which allows us to immediately upgrade our flasks so that we can have a total of 5 flasks at the start of the game. If you're following this walkthrough on an existing character who didn't choose the Golden Seed as your Keepsake, that's really not a big deal. So the Golden Seed Keepsake actually comes out of the pool of seeds that you can find elsewhere in the world. So you don't get like an extra seed, you just get it earlier. There is one seed that we can get to make up for this, which will be at the very end of this video. So as with any new character you make, the very first thing that we're going to do is run up to the gate front. Resting at this site of grace allows us to get Torrent, the horse. I'm assuming that you're already at least partway into your playthrough, but I want to show my entire process, you know, for the sake of this being a sort of challenge video. So I grabbed that map. Now I'm going to go back to the site of grace so that I can look at the map, because you can't pull up the map while you're at bad guys aggroed. So you see, we came from the Church of Ella up to the Gatefront Ruins. From the Gatefront Ruins, we're going to follow this road up north to the Stormhill Shack. So going through the Gatefront, there's a bunch of bad guys, and there's that troll up there who drops down on you. Something a lot of people don't really know about this game is that you can just run past everything. Like, there are almost no enemies in this game that you actually have to fight if you want to go anywhere. It is an action RPG, so I suggest you fight them because you get, you know, runes, you get items that they drop. So here's our first golden seed that we're picking up. But yeah, so I suggest you fight enemies, but you don't have to if you don't want to. You can just run past, you know. So we come here to the Stormhill Shack and we grab the Site of Grace. And so now, resting at the Grace, we can use that golden seed to improve our flasks, and we now have a total of 6 flask charges. So while we're here at the Stormhill Shack, we're going to talk to Roderika. She has a quest line that has 2 parts. So the first part is outside of the Round Table Hold, and then the second part is when you meet her in the Round Table Hold. Talk to her here, you get that spirit jellyfish ashes, and then in order to complete her quest line, you have to go into Stormvale Castle, and there's an item that you have to get from there and bring it back to her, and she gives you her hood as a reward. But you don't actually have to give her that item in order to get the hood, and in order to get into Stormvale, we need to kill Margit, the boss, so that's not an option for this run. And if you don't do that part of her quest line, so it can be quote-unquote failed by resting at a Site of Grace outside of Limgrave. So if you fail, with air quotes, that part of her quest line, then when you go back to the Stormhill Shack, she'll have left you a golden seed, which is what we're doing now. So we come up the side path from Stormvale, which you saw the map in the meantime while I was talking. We're going to activate this Site of Grace. Rest at it. Resting at a Site of Grace outside of Limgrave for the first time causes Melina to come talk to us to take us to the Round Table Hold. For this video, I don't need to do that, but you should probably go to the Round Table Hold. Roderika will have moved there. But I come back to the Stormhill Shack, and Roderika is gone because she's now moved to the Round Table Hold, and she has left a golden seed for us. So that is the second seed that we have actually collected during the run. So now we're going to head east from the gate front. This will take us to the area of Limgrave known as the Mistwood. So there's a Site of Grace over here at the beginning of the Mistwood. Make sure you grab it. Not only are we going to need to come back here later, because there's something that I forgot to grab while I was in this area, which you'll see soon enough, but also in the Mistwood there's giant bears, and they can do a lot of damage, and so it's nice to have a spot to respawn nearby in the event that you die. So I'm going to run over and grab the map. See, those bears do a lot of damage. So I'm going to grab the map, and then you'll see to our left here, there's a little building. This is called the Siofra River Well. Try saying that fast. So I wait here a second to lose the bear's aggro so I can look at the map, but if you need to run away from the bear, you can just get on the elevator and take it straight down. So that was where the map marker was, and then here's that first Site of Grace that we grabbed, and then the River Well, which is just a big-ass elevator that we can take down. There's a Site of Grace to grab here, and then you can use Torrent in this area, so we're going to use that to run through these ruins past all the Claymen. There's a couple items to pick up there. I think there's a spell and a bunch of crafting materials, and probably a couple other little things if you want to go grab those. Come up this way, grab another Site of Grace. This is the map. Make sure you get that. I see a lot of people miss this when I play co-op. So this is the underground area that we're in. We need to go all the way up here to this bridge and go across this little chasm. So like I said, this is a somewhat higher level area than Limgrave, so be careful, because like these ancestor spirit guys can do a lot of damage to you. You see the balls of lightning floating around. They will, if they hit you, you're gonna die. Those things do a ton of damage, even higher levels. Along the way over here, you see there's a Site of Grace you can grab as a checkpoint. I didn't, but you should, especially since you're gonna want to come back down here at some point. I think to my left there was a scarab that drops a somber smithing stone, so make sure you grab that. But you see here, we run across the chasm, and we have another golden seed. So now that we're done in the Siofra River, we're going to come back up to the Mistwood Site of Grace, and we're going to come south to this fort over here. That's called Fort Haight. There's a golden seed, and there's another item that we're going to need later. So you could follow the road through the Mistwood, but that takes you past a bunch of bears. So I like to put a map marker down and then just follow the compass straight to it, because you can cut through the whole Mistwood. There are items in the Mistwood, including, there's the minor Erdtree there that has a couple cool things at its base. So I strongly recommend you come back and explore this, and that applies to every area that we're going to visit. Play the game, explore the stuff, don't just run past everything. But yeah, so there's a Site of Grace by Fort Haight. We're going to grab that in case we die, and then we're going to come up past this little, what are these called? Palisades. We're going to grab this golden seed right here. And then we need to go into the fort. Now, we can't ride the horse into the fort. Be careful, because there are a bunch of bad guys fighting you, and they're throwing fire bombs. And there's also these red barrels that'll explode if they get hit by the fire bombs, and that will probably kill you. That night, you need to kill him for a quest, and he drops a cool Ash of War. So I strongly recommend killing him, but he can be kind of tough. Right now, I'm just worried about grabbing this item that we need, so you can just run past him. Come up the ladder in this chest. We've got the left half of the Dectus Medallion. We're going to need that later to be able to go to the Altus Plateau. So I didn't have any runes on me, so I just used the Memory of Grace to go back to the Site of Grace and get out fast. For our next golden seed, we need to go south of Limgrave to the Weeping Peninsula. So that's that bridge you can see on the left there. It's called the Bridge of Sacrifice. You could go back up and around up this cliff where we came from to the north, but there's actually, oh, and there's a graveyard there if you need a few extra runes. So there's actually a spirit stream here that you can use torrent to jump up. It took me a minute to find it here because I forgot exactly where it was, but I show where it is on the map in a minute. So here's the spirit stream. Here it is on the map. You can see it's at the bottom of the tree line, sort of, so it shouldn't be too hard to find. So we take this up here. There's another graveyard up here in case you need more runes. From that cliff, we head west, and then once we get to the road, we're going to follow that south to go down to the Weeping Peninsula. Along the way, we're going to grab this Site of Grace over here. It's the nearest one to the Bridge of Sacrifice that's on this side of the Bridge of Sacrifice. And it's important to grab because the bridge is guarded by a bunch of soldiers, and there's also a ballista that can knock you off torrent really easily and can just do a ton of damage to you. So make sure you grab that Grace in case you die. So here's the ballista. So it shoots at you and then it has a reloading period. So there's a delay in between shots. So you can draw one shot out and then just, you know, if you want to play the game normally and not just run past everything, you should take the moment to run up to the soldier that's manning it and kill him so that no one is shooting at you anymore. In my case, I just ran past, grabbed the Site of Grace here. There is Irina, you can talk to her. She has a little quest line that's actually kind of really important. So the Scarab there drops an Ash of War. Grab a Site of Grace over here. So now we're at the Castle Morn Rampart Site of Grace. We're going to want to grab this map here. Near the map marker, there's another golden seed. So first of all, along the way, you're going to see that orange big guy up there. That's a golem, and he shoots a big-ass bow that shoots big-ass arrows at you. So make sure you keep an eye on him. Once you kill him, he doesn't respawn. And he's actually really easy to kill. You just gotta attack his legs. But yeah, so we grab the map, and then just across from it, there's another golden seed. So in this particular video, I had nothing useful to get out of Castle Morn, so I didn't go down there. There was a bunch of useful stuff in there, but like I said, not pertinent to this playthrough. So it was around this time I realized that there's a bunch of sacred tears down here, including this one in that church that I forgot to grab, which I mentioned earlier. So we're going to go back and get that in a minute, because we need to go back to that church anyway. But for now, there are 3 sacred tears that you can get on the Weeping Peninsula. So first, there's this one at the north end of it. Second, there's another church at the west end of it. And then there's this little plateau in the center of the peninsula. So it's not clearly marked on the map, but there is a road here that leads up to that the top of that plateau. There's a little village that you can see, and it's got a church that has a sacred tear in it. So with these 4 sacred tears that we're going to get from the Limgrave and Weeping Peninsula areas, that'll bring our flasks up to +4, which there's going to be a chart on screen. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head. I think it's like level 34 vigor. It'll restore your health in 2 flasks. So my recommendation is to have 40 vigor by the time you're finished with Limgrave, Weeping Peninsula, and Liurnia. That's just my general rule of thumb. So considering that it'll fully heal you up to 34 with only 2 flasks, that's pretty good. So you saw there in the church, there's a bunch of rats. Not only do they hit pretty hard, but they also inflict madness, and they have a tendency to stun lock you because they come in a swarm. So be really careful around them. After grabbing the sacred tear, I like to come over to this cliff. So you may or may not know, there's always these tombstones on the side of cliffs. You can use those as shortcuts to get down. Wherever you see tombstones, there's a shortcut to go down a cliff. So over here, you saw on my left, there were those misbegottens, and they shoot arrows at you. So you probably want to kill them before you try to jump down this. But once you do, you just jump down. Since Torrent has a double jump, it's pretty safe. Just take your time. So instead he wins the race, and boom. So now we're back down near the Castlemorn Rampart, Site of Grace. So instead of going all the way around the cliff or back down the road, we just take that shortcut and we get down here. So now we're going to follow the road through Weeping Peninsula as per the map. There was a Site of Grace along the way there. Run across this bridge and just follow the road up to the church. You can't miss it. There's the road we followed, and here is the Sacred Tear. So this side of the Weeping Peninsula is pretty much just one big, like, flat plain, essentially. You know, it's a little hilly, but there's really not much obstruction in the way, so you can see right across to the next church from here. There's a cool scythe in those ruins. It's called the Winged Angel Scythe. Pretty neat. So there's soldiers guarding the front door of this church, so I'd like to come around the side so we don't have to deal with them. Grab this Site of Grace and grab the Sacred Tear. So now that we're done with the Weeping Peninsula, we're going to go back to the Mistwood. So over here, so there's the church to the north that we need to go to, but you'll see on top of this ruin, there's this guy, Kenneth Haight. He sends you on the quest to go to Fort Haight, where you kill the Blood Knight, because that's all right. But, so if you kill Kenneth Haight, he drops a golden seed, but I don't recommend doing that because he has a quest line that gives you, I think, 1 or 2 pretty good items at the end of it. And also, it takes an increasing number of golden seeds to upgrade your flasks as you go on. So here's the Flask of Wondrous Physic, not affected by your seeds or your Sacred Tears, but important to get. And here's another Sacred Tear. Anyway, as I was saying, so since it takes more and more golden seeds to upgrade your flask as you go along, so the first couple take 1 seed, then after that it takes 2 seeds, then 3 seeds, and 4, so on up to, I think the last 3 upgrades require 5 seeds each. So the seed that you get from Kenneth Haight doesn't enable us to get an extra flask by the end of this guide, so I didn't bother killing him. So now that we're done with Limgrave and the Weeping Peninsula, we're going to head behind the Third Church of Marika, as seen here, and we're going to take this teleporter over to the Dragonbarrow. So that teleporter takes us to the Bestial Sanctum and the Dragonbarrow, so you'll see where we are on the map. Pretty far away. So this is a higher level area. You're going to want to be careful with the enemies that are around here. So this door, you can go right inside, and there's a Site of Grace just inside. You're going to want to grab it. Guarding the Sanctum is the Black Blade Kindred. He's a very powerful foe, so you're going to want to give him a wide berth and avoid him. Just south of that, there's a golden seed over here. We're going to grab this. And then we're going to head south towards this bridge. There's a Site of Grace here that we are going to grab. I skipped the one in the Sanctum because I don't need it, but you should grab both of them. But for now, we just grabbed that golden seed while we were near the church, and then we're going to come back over here to Liurnia, which we set up earlier. So currently we have 8 total flasks, and we have 1 extra golden seed, which means I believe we've collected a total of 7 seeds. There's a few more we can get over here in Liurnia. So the very first thing we do, now that we're going into Liurnia, is stop by this church over here. There's an NPC you can talk to, his name is Thops. I'm not going to talk to him right now. There's a Sacred Tear to grab. Heading down into Liurnia now, we're going to want to be careful. I haven't leveled this character up at all, and so a lot of the enemies here can do a pretty significant amount of damage to me. Especially in this little swampy area over here, there's these Wraithcaller zombie guys that will do a ton of damage to you, especially since they come in packs. So, very first thing we're going to do is grab a map so that we can see where the hell we are. There was one of the Wraithcallers, you gotta be careful of them. So there's a group of them hanging out around the map. If you try to just bum rush the map, they're gonna stun lock you and kill you, so you gotta lead them away. As you saw, I swatted one of them away, totally on purpose. Ow. So grab the map, And then just ahead of it over here, there's a Site of Grace. So now that we have the map, we can get our bearings. So that's where we are. Here's the first Site of Grace that we grabbed where we came from. We're heading towards the middle of Liurnia. You'll be able to see the Academy from pretty much anywhere in Liurnia, so that's where we're headed. I grabbed that cookbook. I don't know what recipe it gives you. I didn't actually need it for this run, I just grabbed it because it was there. So we're heading along the road here. It's kind of sunken, so if you lose track of it, just keep heading towards regular Caria, you can't miss it. This NPC is named Raya. She has a missable quest here, it's very short, but if you go up to Altus Plateau, which we're going to do later, then you miss out on that part of her quest line, and missing out on that locks you out of an item that another NPC can sell you, a useful consumable. So make sure you talk to her while you're in the area. Just like my ex-wife, there's a pretty nasty crustacean infestation here. If you aggro one of them, make sure you run away in a serpentine pattern. They have a sniper shot, like that. It will do a ton of damage to you, and it's a real bitch to deal with, so make sure you don't get hit by it. We're going to come to the gate town and grab this map and this Site of Grace. From the Site of Grace, we're going to head through the center of town. There's a big road that runs right down the middle of town, which I'll show on the map in a minute here. But at the end of it, we have another golden seed, which I believe is number 8. As you can see here, there's a sort of road that goes straight through the town. From here, we're going to go a little ways north. You'll see there's these 2 bodegas on the map. I like to call them the twin titties because I just think it sounds slightly funny. I highlighted both of them because I wasn't sure which one I was supposed to go to. It's not the one on the right. That's the first one that I go to, but that's not the correct one. There are, if you come over here, you can talk to Diallos. He tells you to find Lanya once you go to the Round Table Hold. That's where Lanya is. She's already dead. Spoilers. So anyway, the right city does have, I believe, a smithing stone. Yeah, it has 3 smithing stone 3s, so that's enough to get you up to +7 if you already have a +6 weapon. But for our purposes in this video, we're going to want to go over here to the left titty, which has another teleporter. That teleporter takes us all the way to the western end of Liurnia, as you'll see in a second. So that saves us a bit of a walk. There's really not all that much that's useful to us along the way from the Academy Gate Town up through here. If you don't want to take the teleporter, then there are a couple things to grab along the way. But like I said, go to the left titty, and it just saves us a decent length walk. So here we're going to grab the map. With that, we now have the full map of Liurnia, and you'll see we are at the King's Realm Ruins. This is a sort of gateway to Caria Manor. So the way you get through it, you come up here, there's this big illusory wall, just smack it. So we're going to want to grab this Site of Grace because there's a spot where we can die here. That's E.G. the Troll. He can smith weapons for you, and he sells a couple somber smithing stones. If you check out my How to Kill Rykard video, we learn more about him. Anyway, so on the way up to Caria Manor, there's these magical arrows that'll rain down from the sky on you. They're pretty easy to dodge. They spawn in far away, so when you see it, just go left or right. So once we get up to the manor itself, you're gonna definitely want to grab this Site of Grace. Quick tangent, if you go around the side here from where we are, this little pond has a scarab that drops an Ash of War. It's called Hoarfrost Stomp. It's pretty good. The bottom level of Caria Manor is filled with these giant hands that can stun lock the shit out of you. They're weak to fire in case you need to fight any of them, but as usual, I'm just going to run past them. We're going to follow this path through the manor. It goes to the left and then it goes uphill. You'll see there's this door on the right here. You can get into that building from the roof, which will be accessible to us from this wall that we're going to be on in a minute. Those purple things, they don't do damage to you, but if it hits you, it'll like tie you up, and that's not good. So don't get hit by them. So anyway, we're going to run up here. Once we get to the top of the hill here, there's a big hand that's guarding this little staircase. You're going to want to sneak around it like this on the side. These things freak me out. They're so like gross looking. He needs some lotion. And if you're quick, you can run past it before it really has a chance to aggro on you. It will try to shoot one of those purple snare things at you, but it's too big to be able to follow you inside. So here in this little chapel, grab the Site of Grace. So here's just the general path that we took. You can't really see it on the map, but that just gives you an idea of where we came from. So now we're up on top of this wall. As we run past, a bunch of ghostly soldiers are going to spawn and try to attack us. So again, just run past them. If you make this left here, which I'm not doing right now, but if you make that left, you can get onto the roof of that building with the locked door, and inside of it you can get the Sword of Night and Flame, which is a very powerful sword. In the event that you do get caught up fighting these guys, make sure you keep an eye out for the traps that you see me passing over. They explode after a couple seconds when you trigger them, and they can do a good amount of damage to you. There's a Site of Grace there that you should grab. I didn't because I don't need it for the purpose of this run, but right over here is a golden seed. These dire wolves will do a whole bunch of damage to you. There's, I think, 2 of them in the area, so just be careful around them. I just fast traveled out. So now we fast traveled back to the first Site of Grace that we grabbed down in Liurnia itself, and you see these ruins over here on the east side. We're going to run up to them because there's a teleporter here that can take us up directly to the front gate of Caria, instead of having to go past like a bunch of soldiers and stuff. And it's just a nice little shortcut to grab, so I'm going to take it. It's in this building right here. Again, here it is on the map. So that teleporter takes us to the southern gate of Caria. There's a Site of Grace that we're going to grab. We can't actually go into the gate until we grab a key from around the corner here. It's up at this aisle over here. So you see we have 9 flasks now. So the key is guarded by a dragon named Smerag. He's considered a boss, but we don't actually have to kill him to get the key. We can just run past him and grab it. So that's what we're going to do. In case you don't know this little skip, or a little shortcut, I guess, I'd like to do a little bit of a run up from here, and if you land on this rock, then you don't take any fall damage. If you jump onto the railing and then jump down, then it's just high enough that you'll take fall damage, so make sure you jump over the railing and not onto the railing itself. So you follow the cliff face around the corner here. You'll see our waypoints over there. So there is a dragon, like I said. It's pretty dangerous. It only wakes up once you get close enough to it. Just to save myself a little trip in case I die and I need to come back, I came over here and I grabbed this Site of Grace. So here it is on the map. And you see in that bush on the left there is a summoning pool in case you need to summon a cooperator to help you fight the dragon. So we're going to give it a wide berth around the side here. And if we come up behind it, you'll see he starts waking up, but he doesn't immediately aggro on us. So grab the key and then immediately fast travel back. And now, with the key, we can go right on into Caria. For the purpose of this run, we're not actually going into the academy itself. We just need to be able to come over here. I should have grabbed that Site of Grace because it would save me a short trip. Because at the end of this little bridge, you can see there's a golden seed. If I had grabbed the Site of Grace there, then I could have just fast traveled back instead of running all the way back like an idiot. So it turns out these glowing seals here can actually take you across the bridges. So that's what I'm going to do. We came in from the south one, and now we take the east one over here, as you can see. There's a Site of Grace right there. Grab that, and then just to the north, you'll see this church here. That has another sacred tier, so we're going to go grab that. If it's nighttime over here, there will be a Knight's Cavalry on the road, so be careful of him. And there's also a bunch of soldiers and a couple knights over here too, like regular Caria knights. So just be careful of them. So over here at the Bellum Church, grab the Sacred Tier. I believe that's number 5. So now we're going to follow this little tunnel cave thing down here. There's a nomadic merchant here. This one sells, I think, a couple rune arcs and a bunch of consumables. So, always check out the merchants as you come across them. But we're going to go down through this ravine here. These giant land squirts are guarding a golden seed, as you see. They'll poison you if you stay around them, so don't stay around them. Grab this Site of Grace. This is a spot where you can farm smoldering butterflies if you need them for like fire grease or fire pots. You just rest at the Site of Grace and the butterfly respawns, and you literally don't even have to move. You can just keep grabbing more and more butterflies. So now I fast traveled back to the east gate, and we're going to follow the road up towards the Grand Lift of Dectus, which takes us to Altus Plateau. We're not actually going there yet, but we are going to grab the Grace over there. Like I said, there's a bunch of bad guys here, so be careful of them. So once you break the tree line, there are trebuchets that'll start launching rocks and shit at you. So if you take a hard right over here, you'll see there's this little cliff overpass thing that you can use to get behind them. So they can't shoot you while you're up here. At the end of it, there is oh, there's an arterial leaf. Look at that. There's a drop, so just be careful. Keep following it this way, and then there's another drop here. Be careful. We're going to come down to this big structure. This is called the Grand Lift of Dectus. It's a big-ass elevator that takes us up to the Altus Plateau. Like I said, we're not going this way yet, but we do need the Site of Grace. It'll just be convenient for later. You might remember earlier when we were at Fort Haight, we grabbed the left half of the Dectus Medallion, which is where we need both halves in order to activate the Grand Lift of Dectus. So we can't actually go up there yet, but we wouldn't want to even if we could, because we're not done down at the bottom half of the map yet. We will go and grab the right half in a little bit, but for now we're still working in Liurnia. So now we're going up to a pretty dangerous area. There's a road that you have to follow up, and you'll see there's a tower that's going to do damage to you as you run up the road. I actually died here, so again, that's why it's important to grab graces as you go along, so that you don't have to backtrack across the entire map. So you'll see it's that big tower up there, and the fucking Eye of Sauron is going to burn your health away. You can take cover from it behind some of these rocks. You'll see I start taking damage, and it does madness buildup. Make sure you keep an eye on your madness meter here, because when your madness buildup reaches full, you'll take a big chunk of your health as damage, and it like stuns you for a couple seconds. It makes you do this animation. So you'll probably die from the burn. You'll see here I could have actually taken this little side path to come up here to this spirit stream. So keep that in mind when you do this. Wait for the fire to turn off, and then jump up here and land on the wall. Jump around the corner. You'll see there's giant rats down here. These hit way harder than the ones that were in the Weeping Peninsula, so be very careful if you decide to try and fight them. And again, they also cause madness buildup. So, you'll see how I died here. I come up here, you have to kill all these guys once, and they will, that'll turn off the tower. You'll see the tower is burning away my health, and then the madness builds up, and it chunks my health, and I died. Once you have killed all of those guys up there, though, the tower will be off permanently. So here it is again. This time I was a little more careful to not get owned. Just jump down. I should have gone away from the ladder hole. I got lucky to not die there. Wait for the fire to turn off. Once it does, climb up and finish off the rest of them. If you have fire pots, you can stand on top of that chest down there and throw them up at the floor, and that'll hit the guys through the floor, so you can kill them without ever having to come up here. But I didn't, so yeah. From there, I'm going to jump down to this wall, because again, I really don't want to fight those rats. That giant rat will... Ugh. So over here, there's a Site of Grace you're going to want to grab. We're going to head through the Frenzy Flame Village. So you'll see this is where we came from, Frenzy Flame Tower. The pathway up here. So now we have to head through the Frenzy Flame Village. As usual, I'm just going to run through it, but you may want to explore it. The enemies here will do madness buildup when they attack you, so be careful of that. There's a bunch of crafting materials, and there's a talisman, Shabriri's Woe. It's not helpful, so you might not want to grab it. There's also a scarab that drops a spell at the top of this cliff. So we're heading towards the church up here, and in this general spot, there's a NPC invader that spawns in once you get close enough. His name is Vike. He also does madness buildup, of course. Once you trigger him, you'll see on the top left there's that Site of Grace icon underneath my stamina. That's what kicks me off of my horse. You can't use torrent or fast travel while you have that icon. So there's no running away from him, really. So I'm just going to run past him, grab the Site of Grace. So if he kills you, which he probably will, if he kills you, you will now respawn at the Site of Grace instead of having to come all the way back up to the town. And obviously there's that Sacred Tear that I just grabbed, so that's cool. That's why we came here. You can't even rest at the Site of Grace during an invasion, so I tried to fight him. It didn't go so well, as you'll see. But that's alright, we already grabbed the tier, and we already grabbed the Site of Grace, so I just respawned right here anyway. If you go out the front door of the church, he will spawn again. If you kill him, he drops his spear. It's a pretty cool weapon for PvP in particular. It has decently high stat requirements to use, so at low levels you're not really going to get any use out of it, but you can always come back and kill him later. So now we're done with Liurnia and Limgrave. You'll see I have the Sacred Tears that can be used immediately. And then I don't have enough golden seeds to upgrade my flasks yet, because it now requires, I think, 3? So you'll see next to me right now, there's a scarab that drops the Sacred Blade Ash of War, which is a really solid Ash of War. Very helpful for killing like skeletons, because it kills them permanently the first time. I didn't grab it, but you should. So now we jump up the Spirit Springs, and we're going to come up here to Caelid. So this is the Smoldering Church. There's an NPC invader there that'll attack you when you get close. This church does not have a Sacred Tear in it, so we're not going to bother it. There are a couple crafting books in there, so you may want to go and grab it, but for the purposes of this video, not relevant. So Caelid is a pretty difficult area. There's a lot of things that inflict Scarlet Rot here, which if you're not aware is like super duper poison. And there's just really big, strong enemies that'll just, do a lot of damage to you. So be careful moving through Caelid. That's why I saved it for last, because, having the extra heals and the stronger flasks will make it easier to get through here. First of all, if you come around the corner here, there's this graveyard that has a couple runes. But, so instead of following the road through Caelid, I like to hook a south here and come over to this fort. This is called Fort Gale. Right outside of it, there's this Site of Grace. In the process of recording this video, I went into Fort Gale. So the tower at the top of Fort Gale has a teleporter that will take you directly to Redmane Castle. But it turns out that's not actually where we want to go right now for the purposes of this video. So that's why you'll see the Fog of War on the map is all like uncovered. But yeah, so from this Site of Grace, we're going to go east. So we skipped the previous segment of the main road that goes through Caelid because there's a bunch of giant dogs and birds on it that'll ruin your day up here. So if we come over here, there's a nomadic merchant here that sells a couple of good things. And then right around the corner from him is another site of grace. We're just grabbing this so that I have a more centralized area to respawn in the event that I die. From this site of grace, we're going to go south, kind of following the road. There's a couple enemies patrolling it. Kindred of Rot, they're the big bug boys, and a couple dogs that'll do a lot of damage to you. So these guys right here. So you may want to avoid the actual road, but there's a site of grace here. Again, just good to grab so you have an extra spot to be able to move around the map. Here's where it is relative to Fort Gale and all that. Heading south from there, coming onto the road, you'll see this big dragon, Exikes. He's pretty dangerous, so his thing is that he's got Scarlet Rot Breath and a couple other attacks that do Scarlet Rot. So I don't need to fight him for this run, so I ran past him. In the event that you do fight him, or anything in Caelid for that matter, try using fire. They establish in the lore, I believe it's a Gideon who mentions that Radahn soldiers are trying to burn away the rot all throughout Caelid. By the way, here's a golden seed, just south of where the map marker was. And so everything in Caelid is weak to fire, pretty much. With that golden seed secured, we now move back to the Dragonbarrow. So here we are again, near the Bestial Sanctum. We're going to run across this bridge to the south. You'll see my map looks different from before. That's because these takes were done out of order. In post, I'm editing it to be what I believe is the best way to actually go about doing this run if you decide to follow this guide. So we're going to go south across this bridge past Grail. He will attack you. You shouldn't have too hard of a time running past him. If he does kill you, you just respawn at the site of grace that's right there. We're passing by this Erdtree, and you'll see there's a Putrid Avatar there. It drops a couple really good crystal tears for your Wondrous Physic, but it's also super strong, so you may not want to fight it if you're a lower level character. Behind the Erdtree, there's that Spirit Stream we just took, and then we're coming up here to Fort Faroth to grab this Site of Grace. Now we need to go inside of Fort Faroth because the second half of the Dectus Medallion is here, and we're going to need that to be able to go up to the Altus Plateau without fighting any bosses. So you see here, I tried to hit the wall to see if I could aggro the enemies. There's a bunch of bats in here that hit pretty hard, so be careful when you run past them. If you throw a kukri at that wall there, that makes a loud enough noise that it should draw most of the enemies in the room over to that side, and then you can run past them. But if you're quick enough, then you can just run past them like I did. The bats can't come up the ladder, so they can't chase you. Once you're up here, you're going to grab the Dectus Medallion, so now we are able to access the Altus Plateau. You could leave at this point, but I also just wanted to show there's a really powerful talisman here. So you're not going into this hole, you're going to the hole that has a ladder. There's 3, I think, so giggity. Yeah, make sure you go down the one with the ladder. Over here, there's a golden rune, grade 12, which is pretty strong. I think it's like 5,000 runes. Jump across to this section. Don't get owned by the giant rat. And then right here is the talisman, Radagon Sword Seal, increases... you see I used the Memory of Grace to get out fast because chances are those rats are going to kill me. But Radagon Sword Seal increases your physical stats by 5 each for a total of plus 20 points. Very useful talisman. Strongly recommend using it at low levels. As you saw, I marked on the map, we're going to Sellia, Town of Sorcery. So it's really easily accessible from Fort Faroth. You just come over to this giant skull and go down the Spirit Stream. So over here, there's the Church of the Plague as well. This has a sacred tier. It has a bunch of sacramental buds and Aeonian butterflies, and there's also this NPC you can talk to, Millicent. Her quest line gives you a couple pretty good items at the end of it, but right now she's not pertinent to this run, so I'll ignore her like women ignore me. So after that, you're going to come further to the west, and you'll see Sellia is all the way down at the bottom of this cliff. There is a way you can walk around, but that takes longer and you'll get smacked in the face by big balls. So instead, if you come to this bell tower, or whatever the hell it is, a windmill, and you can jump onto this part of it, and then down onto the lower rooftop, and take little or no fall damage. So if you were to try to jump straight down to the ground, then you would have just died. But that's a nice little shortcut that you can use to get from the Church of Plague down to the Sellia town of Sorcery. And in the event that you do die, as long as you land on the inside of the wall, there's this stake of Marika here, and that'll let you respawn here. So even if you do die, it's still a shortcut down. So Sellia has a Site of Grace in the middle of it, at the bottom of the staircase right here. So we're going to grab that. The sorcerers here are invisible and they're pretty strong because, like I said, Caelid is a higher level area. So it's important to grab that grace in case we die in the process of trying to navigate the town. Once that's done, we're going all the way to the north end of town, up this staircase. And at the top of this thing, there is a golden seed. After grabbing that, you can just jump off this little shortcut here and go back to the Site of Grace if you want. And you'll see now we have 10 flasks, and our flasks have been upgraded to +8. So now we have grabbed all of the golden seeds and sacred tears that we can grab in the lower half of the map. And with that, it's time to head up to the Altus Plateau. So back to the Grand Lift of Dectus we go. And by hoisting the Dectus Medallion, we can head up to the Altus Plateau. If you did the first part of Raya's questline, then she'll meet you up here at the top of the elevator, to the left over here by this wall. I didn't do her questline, so she's not here. And keep in mind that if you didn't do that part of her questline, then you miss out on it, and you can't talk to her over here. Anyway, we're going to head north from the Grand Lift of Dectus, and we're going to grab the Site of Grace. You can see it up on top of the rocks up there. After grabbing that, we've got a bit of running to do, so we're going to get back on Torrent, and we're going to keep heading north. So I want to point out, you don't really notice it in this shot here, but to my right on the lower part of this little valley, I guess, there's a camp with a bunch of soldiers in it, and they have ballistas aiming down at the lower part of the camp, so be careful not to go into it. Coming up here, you'll see we grab our first golden seed, so I'll show you where it is on the map in a moment. But yeah, so that whole little encampment over there has a bunch of bad guys in it, so be careful not to get murdered by those ballistas if you end up in there. So here's a better look at the camp. There are 2 carriages that you can loot a couple items from, but you see there's, I think there's 3 ballistas. Yeah. And then the higher part of the camp also has a bunch of knights and stuff in it. So you can avoid it entirely by just coming to the left over here. You'll see there's these rocks we can go up. And then heading east. It's a little bit of turtleneck meat. There's a bunch of omens in this little camp over here, so be careful of them. And on the road, we can grab the map marker. Just south of where you grab the map, there's a golden seed, and where I put that map marker just now, there is a Site of Grace that we can grab. And with that, we have collected our 15th golden seed, which means that we are halfway to maxing out the number of flasks that we can carry. So now we want to start heading into the capital city itself, Leyndell. Heading up this big grand road staircase, I don't know what this thing's supposed to be called, but at the end of it, there's 2 tree sentinels in a duo boss fight. So those are the same guy that you fight at the very beginning of the game when you come off of the first step. So you're not going to want to fight them right now. So instead, we're going to go up the left side here. There's a couple bears, so there's that small one, and then there's one of the big rune bears up there. You'll see him in a second, right here. So if you're quick and he doesn't come all the way down the hill, you can come all the way to the left side over here and he won't notice you. If he does notice you, well, you grab that Site of Grace for a reason. So we're coming past this poison mist. This is a cave here. It's called Perfumer's Grotto. Doesn't have anything useful for me right now, but you can come back here and check it out in your own time. You see here the Tree Sentinel duo. You can run past them. They can follow you through this door, but they only go so far before their AI makes them turn around and head back to where they started. So you don't have to worry about them if you just run past. So we can grab this Site of Grace here, and we get not 1, but 2 golden seeds at this Phantom Tree, which is very nice. Furthermore, there's also a map. So from the Site of Grace, you can see I looked up the hill for a second there, and here's this church. It's called the Minor Erdtree Church. This one does not have a sacred tier at it. I had gone to check it out because I always forget this one doesn't have a sacred tier. It does have a sacred seal, but not a sacred tier. So that's not useful to me right now. So if you go up this staircase road thing, there's a gargoyle that will fly down and kick your ass. So instead, you can just go around it up here. As we come up this little side area here, you'll see that there's a patch of magma slugs. There's a bunch of smoldering butterflies that spawn here. If you want to grab them, if you need them for fire grease, fire pots. And then over here, we've got this phantom tree with another 2 golden seeds. So now we want to go and grab the Site of Grace over here by the, I think it's called the Outer Wall Battlements, something like that. But along the way, there's a boss here. Now you don't see him. It's that guy. He turns into a secret boss. So obviously we're going to want to avoid him. So we're going to take the long way around. There is a troll up here that's sleeping. You saw him on the left there for a second. He'll wake up when you pass by, but if you just keep running, he won't be able to catch up to you. Grab the Site of Grace. And with all those seeds collected, we now have a very nice total of 11 flask charges. That's it for what we can acquire in the capital outskirts, so now we're going to head north back out to the Altus Plateau proper. Coming through this gate here, there's a big, what would you call this, a fortification, a defensive line, and there's a whole bunch of trebuchets. I think there's like 4 or 5 of them. So we're going to need to run past them, and we're going to be in their firing line the entire time. So I went and killed them, but I missed, I think, 2 of them. I only got the ones on the left here, but there are a couple more on the right. So you're going to want to make sure you go and get those ones first. Don't forget them. It's bad. Okay. So here's a golden seed. There's some cover down here that you can take from the trebuchets in case you missed them like I did. And then we're going to head further north up the road. That jump scared the shit out of me when it happened. Skillfully dodge it, and then keep running. Again, just like in Liurnia, once you get past the tree line, they cannot shoot you. So here we are by the Windmill village. We're going to want to head south through this lower part of it. And there's this trail that heads down into the woods, which we're going to follow. And you'll see in the distance, there's another phantom tree with another golden seed. So that's the final seed that's useful to us during this run. So past 12 flask charges, which is what we have enough for, the last 2, so to upgrade to 13 and 14 total charges, requires 5 seeds each, and there's not enough seeds that we can get without killing bosses. I just wanted to show that scarab there. It gives you a spell called Protection of the Erdtree. It's an incantation you can cast that increases all of your elemental resistances by, I think, 30%. And then there's a Site of Grace over here that you can grab, just to have a nice little shortcut to come back here. But yeah, so we're done grabbing golden seeds, and now we're going to grab the sacred tears that are in the Altus Plateau. So first, we head back to the Altus Highway Junction Site of Grace, where this first golden seed was. We're going to head north up to the, I think this is called the Second Church of Marika. If you did Yura's quest line down in Limgrave and Liurnia, then this is where his quest line concludes. So it changes once you are concluding his quest line. There's a different enemy that spawns here outside of that quest line. Around the church, there are a bunch of dogs that will inflict bleed when they attack you. Here's your sacred tier, and you'll see right there, coming out of that pool of blood, is a sanguine noble who will kick your ass, so run away from him before you die. And I think in that little graveyard we just went through, there might be skeletons too, but I'm not sure. So now, having grabbed that, we're going to come back to the outer wall, battleground, battlements, I still don't know what the fuck the name is. So now, instead of going up the road, Battleground, we're going to follow the wall to the left here and come to this road. This is the Rampart Side Path, I believe it's called. So we're just going to immediately go left and just follow the wall. So once you come over here to this cliff face, there's a Site of Grace. From the Site of Grace, we follow the path to the west. So that is a hero's grave. We're not going to that structure right there. So here's the hero's grave. That's not what we're going to. We want to go this way to the church, which I believe is called Stormcaller Church. Along the way, there's a bunch of lightning rams. A couple of them will actually attack you, and they can do a surprising amount of damage. There's also that graveyard there, where you can grab a couple golden runes. Inside the Stormcaller Church, we have our final sacred tier, bringing our flasks up to plus 10 out of a total of plus 12. There are still 2 more sacred tiers to be found, but we cannot get them without fighting any bosses, so that concludes the sacred tiers and the golden seeds for this run. Quick editor's note. After recording and editing this entire video, I remembered that at the very beginning of the run, I said I would show an alternative golden seed that you can acquire if your character has already started the game and has not chosen the golden seed keepsake. So by the time I remembered that, I had deleted the character that I used for this entire video. So the next few clips are going to be on a different character, but all the same rules and stuff apply. You can still get this golden seed without killing any bosses. So as you saw, we go back to the Erdtree Gazing Hill, and we're going to head up this little cliffside thing here, up towards the Wyndham Ruins. So there is a Tibia Mariner boss here, but you can just run past him, so that's what we're going to do. Go through the little pond, and then around the corner here, you'll see is the beginning of the Seedwater River of Mount Gelmir. There's a Site of Grace we can grab. Heading further up the Seedwater River, there's a couple hazards along the way. Specifically, you'll see right here, there's this geyser vent, lava vent, whatever the hell you want to call it. Those hit really hard and they'll stun lock you to death. So be careful not to get hit by them. I think I get hit by one right here. Yep. So that did half my health in one hit. Don't get hit by them. But you'll see right here, there's a golden seed you can grab. I had already grabbed it on this character, but this shows you where it is. Now, I'm not going to actually show it in this run, which I'll explain in a second, but if you go past the Seedwater River, you'll go past that lava lake, you'll pass by the Craftsman's Shack, there's that little village that's filled with demi-humans down here. There's a demi-human queen boss here that you can run past, there's also a Site of Grace there, and if you go across that rock bridge, you end up at the Gelmir Hero's Grave. Then there's another rock bridge you can go up, bunch of ladders you can climb up. Over here, there's also an isolated merchant there. And then there's another wooden bridge you can cross, and that takes you to the 9th Mount Gelmir campsite, which is the very top of Mount Gelmir. Now, I didn't show the whole path in this run because this seed isn't actually useful to us. So here's a spirit stream, and there is the full-grown Falling Star Beast up here, which is a boss that is also quite tough. You can run across this little crag and jump across, and now you don't have to worry about the Falling Star Beast. So yeah, we can just run past him, we don't have to fight him. And there's our golden seed over there. The reason why I'm not showing you the full way of getting this is because I think at this point in the run we have either 2 or 3 golden seeds, and in order to bring our flask up another upgrade, we need a total of 5. We'll do the math in a minute, but even grabbing this seed doesn't bring us up to the number required to upgrade our flasks another time. So with it all said and done, how many flasks, how many golden seeds, and how many sacred tears have we actually collected? In Limgrave we collected 4 golden seeds. In Liurnia we collected 4 golden seeds. In the Siofra River we collected 1 golden seed. In Lane Dell we collected 4 golden seeds. In Caelid we collected 3 golden seeds. In the Altus Plateau we collected 5 golden seeds. In Mount Gelmir we collected 1 golden seed. That brings us to a total of 22 golden seeds. Additionally, there was also the Keepsake seed that we started with, and there was also an additional optional seed if you kill Kenneth Haight in Limgrave, for a grand total of 24 golden seeds, which is 1 short of getting a total of 13 flasks, and 6 short of having all 14 flasks. In addition, we also collected a total of 10 sacred tears. There were 4 in Limgrave, 3 in Liurnia of the Lakes, 2 in Altus Plateau, and 1 in Caelid. If you follow this guide, you will have 12 flasks at plus 10 strength. This should be more than enough to give you an edge over most bosses. And that concludes our video for today. I had a great time making this and I appreciate you taking the time to watch it. My channel has been growing slowly but steadily over the last month. If I helped you succeed, please consider returning the favor and leaving a like, a comment, or maybe even subscribing. And so with that said, I'll catch you later.